as a transplant surgeon, have you got a certain group of patients who tend to wait longer for a kidney transplant, have you noticed?
Yes, I think that's quite an important question, and really to be able to understand what waiting time means for an organ, you have to understand a little bit about where organs come from transplant. So my particular field of kidney transplant, the organs can come from a live donor, so that could be a family member, friend, relative who's fit enough, suitable to be able to donate for transplant, and that doesn't have the same waiting time issues. However, for a lot of people there isn't the option of a live donor, and their transplant organ would need to come from a deceased donor, so somebody who's no longer living. This kind of situation, then the waiting time is a national waiting time. So essentially any donors who donate organs, it will be donated to somebody appropriately next on the national waiting list. Okay. Now, one of the important things that we've been working on in transplant is not only to increase the number of transplants that we do, but to increase how long they work for. And one of the essential things for why organs fail earlier is sometimes because they're not as well matched. And when I mean matched, I mean from the match between the donor and the recipient. The things that constitute your particular match are to do with your blood group, but also to do with a system called HLA, which is your unique system which differentiates your cells from foreign cells. So it's very important that we get that HLA match with the organ and the recipient as good as possible. So for that reason, there are some people who have a rarer HLA type and will wait longer. In particular, your HLA is made up of your genetic makeup, which originates from your ethnic origin as well, so the country where you originate from or your family originate from. So because of that, so people who are from the Black, South Asian communities, they have a slightly more rarer type of HLA to the Caucasian indigenous population of Britain. So for that reason, they are likely to have longer wait times, which has a negative impact in their outcomes.
So thinking about the HLA type, do we need more people from different backgrounds all over just to donate or consider donating their organs?
Absolutely. The priority is to have as many people signing up for the organ donor register first of all, because the more people that we have, the more potential we have for organs and the better chances we have of transplants. But specifically, we know that although people from the ethnic minorities make up as high as 35% of the current transplant waiting list, they make up less than 3% of those that come forward as donors. And so there's a real mismatch between the donor pool and the recipient pool. So those people with that from ethnic minority backgrounds whose HLA is kind of unique to that group will wait longer. And by encouraging people from those communities to sign up to the organ donor register, we can increase the diversity within the donor pool and improve the outcomes, but reduce the waiting times for that particular community.
And then that will save more lives.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the intention really, is that, I mean, really over the last 20 years or so, transplantation has come forward in huge droves. We have improved techniques, we have improved immunosuppression agents, we have improved knowledge, and we are transplanting more people and the transplants are lasting longer. But the main limiting step that we can't control is the number of donors that we have and essentially the number of organs that we have access to for transplant. And that's why the biggest focus that we have as a transplant community is to increase the awareness so that people have the conversation, understand the facts, and have the discussions with their loved ones as well, so that we can increase those people on the donor register.
And have you got one last point that's a big take-home message?
Yeah, I think, you know, in particular about the community, I mean, I've worked as a doctor for a long time, and, you know, I've realised that there's a lot of differences between the cultural variation of how we perceive healthcare. So the biggest thing I would say, particularly to the ethnic minority communities, is to improve their awareness of the healthcare conditions that are more prevalent, like diabetes and high blood pressure and things like kidney failure, and also to be aware that there's a lot of fact and information out there about culture and religious practices that will help dispel some of the myths about organ donation. In the past, it was okay for people to just take their time or maybe sit on the fence about this, but the issues become more and more pressing. And last year, over 400 people died, and many of those were avoidable deaths. It was because we didn't have enough organ donors. So we need people, all people, to be really reviewing the facts, having the conversations, but in particularly people from the ethnic minority group realize that there is a great onus on that community to come forward so that we can improve the outcomes for people from those backgrounds.
And do you think you might think about organ donation, but you're more likely to need an organ donor than actually become an organ donor?
Yeah, absolutely. Diabetes and high blood pressure conditions like this are very prevalent. Almost certainly, most people will have a family member with these conditions. These conditions lead to things like kidney disease and ultimately kidney failure requiring transplant. So there is a large number of people who fall into that group. So it's very likely that people will have a family member or a friend who's likely to have kidney disease and may need a transplant in the future, rather than the number of people that are likely to be as donors. The important thing at the moment is that people will have heard a lot of discussion about opt-out and about the impact of this in the future. People need to be aware that this is not an attempt to coerce or push people into signing onto the organ donor register. It's simply to get people to have the conversation, and that's where things start from.
Thank you.
Thank you.